Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I want you to know that I appreciate you. I work hard for you every single day, including weekends, to be able to bring you cutting edge news. And all I ask from you is you please gently click the like button if you learn something new from this video. Also, please click the subscribe button and enable notifications so you get instant updates from us going forward. My name is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Now, in my previous video, I reported that House Speaker Pelosi has provided the administration with 48 hours to accept her language, primarily as it pertains to testing, tracing, and treatment, to get specific language into the bill if there have to be any hopes of passing a stimulus before the election. And this deadline essentially pertains to Tuesday evening. Now, what's really interesting is if you've been following my channel, almost 2 weeks ago, I did a video on basically saying stimulus can happen if this happens, and I was the one who actually proposed that the president should essentially send out a tweet or make an offer saying, "Hey Nancy, how's 1.9 trillion dollars with I believe it was maybe 350 billion dollars for state and local aid." Now, you have 48 hours to accept. Now, what ended up happening is that the president proposed $1.8 trillion, up from the $1.62 trillion. And the president's lead negotiator, U.S. Secretary Mnuchin, went up from their previous offer of $250 billion for state and local aid to $300 billion, which was not too far off from my suggestion, which was $1.9 trillion and $350 billion. And then my suggestion about giving the other side 48 hours, it seems, was adopted by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely check out my video where I essentially had a proposal. I actually tweeted that to many administration officials, and what now is happening, and I'm laughing not to minimize this, but I'm laughing because we're what is it, days, couple of weeks away from the election, and what is happening right now should have happened a long time ago. But anyway, where we stand right now is that House Speaker Pelosi, in a very, very interesting interview this morning, said some important things that I think my viewers and subscribers should listen to and then decide for yourself. This is very important, guys. This is very important. I know that when I read the viewers, when I read our comments, I know there's a lot of animosity towards Trump, President Trump, towards House Speaker Pelosi. Let's just listen to what they have to say, and then let's just try and understand both sides. And if you're asking me who's to blame, both sides are to blame. You're not going to see me on this channel bashing Speaker Pelosi or bashing President Trump. That's not how I think. In my mind, I don't even work that way. But I do want to point out things from both sides. Now, Speaker Pelosi, and you're about to see the segment from Speaker Pelosi just now. Speaker Pelosi was asked about what's going on with the status of the changes. Why so many changes? And she said something that I thought was very important. She said that the people making changes on the part of the administration are not legislators. They're making small changes. They're changing a few words here and there. They're just changing small language. They're providing non-specific language, and they are not understanding the underlying problem, which is that specific language and specific allocation of money needs to happen in order for us to be able to tackle this pandemic. So it's interesting. I mean, if what Speaker Pelosi is saying is correct, this is really bad. This is really bad because it means that individuals are just who are not experienced are working on the paperwork that's being exchanged between the House Speaker and the President. Which I hope that's not the case. If so, let's just take a look at this clip where Speaker Pelosi talks about the inconsistency in the language, and the fact that it's not specific, and the fact that they're making some changes which make no sense, which do not give the Democrats what they're looking for. Which, by the way, is very important because U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that we're going to be on the same page as far as tracing, and treatment is concerned. He said that. Those were his exact words. I did cover that on my channel a few days ago. So let's take a look at exactly what Speaker Pelosi had to say. Hopefully we get a clear response from the administration about this, because we have heard from Drew Hamill, and we have who's a Speaker Pelosi spokesperson. I'll provide you with links to all our sources in the description section below, so check that out. And we are hearing from Speaker Pelosi now. Let's roll the tape and see exactly what Speaker Pelosi had to say about this.
A lot of Americans are hurting, as you know, as well, Madam Speaker. I know you've been negotiating with the White House over a possible economic relief package, and you spoke with with Secretary Mnuchin last night.
Yes.
Any closer to reaching a deal?
Well, we're seeking clarity because actually, with all due respect to some of the people in the president's administration, they're not legislators. So when they said we're accepting the language on testing, for example, but we're just making a light touch. They said they changed shall to may, requirements to recommendations, a plan to a strategy, not a strategic plan. They took out 55% of the language that we had there for testing and tracing. And the tracing part is so important because communities of color have been disproportionately affected by this. So on this subject where we have agreement, we don't have agreement in the language yet, but I'm hopeful. And here's the big difference. Communities of color have more deaths than the white population. Let's just think of this. If you are a child, a Hispanic child has 8 times more chance of going to the hospital with COVID than a white child. A black child, 5 times more chance of going to the hospital than that. That's because we have not addressed the problem, the testing, the tracing, the treatment, the mask wearing, the separation, the sanitation, and all that goes with it. So again, hopefully we can learn from each other and they understand. And let me just say this. We had pages and pages of how you would do this in the minority community. They crossed it all out. Instead, they put this sentence. Contact tracing will be paid for by the federal government as part of the $75 billion. Okay, we agree with that. But given state difference, each state shall establish a strategy that is appropriate to its circumstances. CDC can provide guidance to the states on elements. Can, no, must. But in addition to that, we have to have a national plan. You cannot leave it up to the states
So if you
decide
don't,
how they're going to address the minority community.
if you don't get that agreement, if you don't get that agreement in the 48-hour deadline you said, what happens?
Well, here's the thing. The 48 only relates to if we want to get it done before the election, which we do.
Well, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so which we do. But we're saying to them, we have to freeze the design on some of these things. Are we going with it or not? And what is the language? I'm optimistic because, again, we've been back and forth on all of this. You know legislation. Shall is different from may. And the difference amounts to this. If you think of it this simple way, when you say may, you're giving the president a slush fund. He may do this, he may grant, he may withhold. When you say shall, according to the the science tell us must happen. And if we test and trace and treat, mask, separate, ventilate, sanitize, and all the rest of that, we can open our schools.
So that was the first segment. Now, in the second segment, so House Speaker Pelosi was specifically asked, hey, let's say you guys come to a deal. Let's say you and U.S. Secretary Mnuchin actually come to a consensus. Will Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell actually bring a vote to the floor of the House, because to the floor of the Senate, because at the end of the day, and I've covered this in another video, a deal, an agreement without a bill that gets signed into law, a deal without a law makes no sense for the American people. And so I thought House Speaker Pelosi's response was interesting. She said that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been inconsistent with his position. She said, I quote, he has said many different things. And she also said that he was laughing and not taking the whole matter seriously. And then, she talked about the importance of negotiating with the president when she was specifically asked, hey, well, why not negotiate directly with the president? Why go through these negotiators? She said that's how it's always been done. That's how it was done in the past with other presidents. But she did say something that essentially reflects the lack of trust between the House Speaker and between the President of the United States, which is absolutely terrible for the country. It does, again, guys, please don't let your emotions for President Trump or your emotions for House Speaker Pelosi get in the way. The fact that the Speaker of the House and the President don't trust each other, the fact that, and by the way, Speaker Pelosi's comment was the President misrepresents the facts. That's not a good thing. That doesn't. That tells us that essentially it's all coming down to U.S. Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who, by the way, the president said that he's not bringing home the bacon. So if this deal doesn't happen, I think we can see who's going to be set up to be the fall guy But let's listen to what House Speaker Pelosi said when she was specifically asked, will Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell put a vote on the floor of the House? And why are you not negotiating directly with the president? And before we get into this segment, check out my other video where I've analyzed the relationship between the Speaker and the president. It is a very contentious relationship. It's a relationship fraught with tension and lack of communication, because they haven't spoken for a year. And I'm shaking my head as I say this, but let's roll the tape and see exactly.
We
Madam
can
Speaker,
open our businesses.
Even if you reach a deal with the White House, somewhere around $1.82 trillion, Leader McConnell has said he's not going to put something like that on the floor of the Senate. So what happens?
Well, he said a number of things. And one of the things that he said, I think it was yesterday, but it was reported yesterday, that is, if the White House and the House come to an agreement, that he would put it on the floor. That is among his many statements. But most of the time he spends laughing, pushing the pause button, telling states to go bankrupt, laughing when in his debate, did you see that, when Amy McGrath was saying to him, what are you doing about stopping the spread of the virus, et cetera? He laughed. He laughed. This is not funny. The president didn't take it seriously. McConnell has not taken it seriously. But we can stop this if we follow the science and be ready for a vaccine, which I hope will be soon.
You haven't spoken to the president in over a year. Are you willing to pick up the phone to close the deal, to get this done?
Look, let me just say this, because I keep getting that question. It isn't about the president. He sends his representative. President Bush sent his representative. President Obama sent their representative. Professionals who know something about the policy. This is not unusual. However, I have a great deal of respect for the office I hold, Speaker of the House, and I have a great deal of respect for the position that he holds, President of the United States. This is not a casual conversation. This is about a meeting of the head of the first branch of government, the legislative branch, and the president. If there is a purpose, if there is a stipulation of trying to get something done, then perhaps we take this to that place when we can't solve other problems. But many of you have spent many times calculating how many times the president has misrepresented the facts, how many times the president has told me and told Chuck Schumer that, yes, we're going to do this for Dreamers, or told bipartisan, bicameral representatives in the Congress, yes, we're going to do this on immigration, told us, yes, we're going to do this on infrastructure, but then he doesn't. So again, you want to meet with him, you meet with him. But as far as I'm concerned, the Speaker of the House must be respected in terms of what the purpose of the meeting is, what the preparation is for it, and what the likely outcome of success would be.
Bottom line.
And in the final segment, Speaker Pelosi was specifically asked, hey, are Americans likely to see relief before Election Day? And I think, again, Speaker Pelosi's response was very telling. She said, I quote, it depends on the administration. And then she did talk about what's important to the Democrats, which is stopping the virus, making sure children have what they need. She highlighted the fact that that was not in the administration's proposal. She, again, put the ball back in, she put the ball sort of back into the president's court, if you will. And if you look at one of the reasons, you folks watch my channel is I try and help you read behind the scenes. If you look at the signs closely, the House Speaker is using the language that the president used to negotiate against him. Because let's be clear, I just want to be as clear as I can. The president has been very inconsistent in his position, plain and simple. That's number one. Number two, the Speaker of the House is using the language of the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also to negotiate against the administration, because Senate Majority Leader, who has been fairly consistent, I have to admit, saying that, hey, we're not going to get $1.8 trillion, we're not going to get support. But now he says that, hey, there could be support. In the meantime, let's pass something of a piecemeal bill, which, by the way, the Republicans tried to pass a while back and they didn't get any support from the Democrats. So this inconsistency, if you will, is something that is being used by House Speaker Pelosi to negotiate against the administration to, in their minds, in the Democrats' mind, get a better deal. Let's roll the tape and see exactly what Speaker Pelosi had to say when she was asked, will Americans see relief before Election Day? Let's watch.
Fine, Madam Speaker. Are Americans going to get relief before Election Day?
Well, that depends on the administration. The fact is that the heart of the matter is to stop the spread of the virus. Now, let me speak to you from the standpoint of children, because that is my why. That is why I am in government and politics. For the children, we're having a big debate with them now over earned income tax credit. They get a tax break to the richest people in America. We want a earned income tax credit, child tax credit, child independent tax credit for the children. 6 to 8 million, depending on whose calculation you use, million kids are now, people are in poverty in our country, and many of them are children. So this will take millions of children out of poverty, send them to schools that take money to have the separation, the ventilation of the number of teachers there to teach them, have correct this coronavirus that is affecting Black and Hispanic children in a much greater way than white kids. And that takes us all back to state and local government, which is the source of health care, education, first responders, police and fire, food, sanitation, and the rest. There's a oneness to this. I think we can get there. But if you think of it in terms of the children and child care, they're rejecting our number on child care, which is greatly reduced, but they're rejecting it, saying child care is people can't go to work if their children can't go to school.
Finally, Madam Speaker, I do have to move on, but I just want to ask you one final question about Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Last time we spoke, you said Democrats had arrows in their quiver to block this nomination, but she seems like she's on a path to confirmation right now. Is this a done deal, or is there still something Democrats can do to stop it?
Well, we'll see. I'm not in the Senate. I don't. What I'm talking about is how we win this election, because we have to offset whatever the outcome of this, whatever this court may do. And the Congress of the United States can overturn these bad decisions. For example, the court just did one on the census. The census is a disagreement we have in this bill. This is very important, who we are as a nation. And yet the court just agreed with the president to stop the census. So again, because we want to have an agreement, we can come to negotiation. And we can do it now. What's the difference, a few days, except that we could have it before the election, which we want it as soon as possible. And I certainly want it, because I don't want to have to be sweeping up after this dumpings of this elephant as we go into a new presidency in a few short months.
That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you. Your vote of confidence in me and my team is you simply clicking the like button, you simply clicking the subscribe button, you igniting that notifications button after you click subscribe, because that will be your vote of confidence in me and my channel. That's how you can essentially tell the YouTube algorithm that you're getting valuable content. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. You can get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000. That's 70000, and then you'll get added to our SMS alerts list. You can also, if you want, get on our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts. You'll get added to our email list. You can follow us on Instagram. Simply go to ignition_time. That's our Instagram handle. Go to ignition_time. We release exclusive content on Instagram. You can also, if you want, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Just follow us on Twitter. You'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. Sometimes YouTube does not release notifications on time when we release our videos. So simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition_time. That's youtube.com/ignition_time. And then you'll be able to visit the homepage of our channel and watch the videos at any point in time that you want. I really appreciate you watching. Once again, we release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. My name is Dr. Nitin Choda. Please consider commenting below. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. Please click the like button. Also, please share this video with friends and family. This way we can grow our community. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.